Alrighty guys, back with another video on the 330 Ci. Today, we're unboxing our parts and we're going to be installing them on the intake manifold over there and putting everything back into the car and hopefully get this thing back up and running. So, let's go ahead and unbox these. Alrighty guys, let's unbox this box. See what we got in here. A lot of paper. I don't know how they fit everything in here because I already left a bunch of stuff. Let's see. Get that paper out of here. Alrighty, let's go one by one. Start with this big bag. So in here looks to be, there's my new drain plug. There is all my hoses and lines for the PCV breather. That there. And then we'll start. This is the hoses for the sucking jet pump. It's got a nice, all the new connectors and everything. So that's nice. Then here's the other half of the hose to the sucking jet pump. Ooh, it's nice and squishy unlike the other one. Put that to the side. This is our first coolant pipe. This is really nice. High quality. This is a rain hose, I think. Or no, this is genuine BMW. There's that brittle plastic pipe that broke on me that last time. Here's our intake boot, the one with the very severe angle, so that's nice. We got right here, we got our gaskets, our intake gaskets. Here is this is one of our heater hoses that I'm gonna be replacing while I'm in there. There's vacuum line to replace all the old vacuum line. The old one is all cracked and brittle, as you guys probably saw in the last video. And then we have, what is this? Let's see, I think this is the CCV, the actual valve part of it. Yep, that's the actual valve part. Put that back in its box for now. Put that to the side right here in my pile of parts. See, this is our other heater hose that connects to the coolant pipe. And here's our other coolant pipe, the long one. Last but not least, our last heater hose. And that's it for the box. Alrighty, now I'm gonna go get this all laid out and start installing it. Alrighty guys, so in my last video, if you guys saw, I took this whole intake manifold out. That's sitting over there. That's gonna be prepped for the crankcase ventilation system to go onto that. And we're gonna throw all these pieces back in. So what I got is two of these new heater hoses. Those two, they go down here, run to this and to this. This one's old, so that will be replaced. And then these plastic coolant pipes down here will be replaced, and everything else will be replaced. So, but the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and drain all the coolant. I'm gonna show you guys how to do that right now. So I have this coolant drain pan. So what I'm gonna do is you take this, gonna take it, and I'm gonna undo these, both of these, because I don't know how much coolant is left in here. Set these off to the side somewhere you're not gonna lose them. Just slide that over there. I'm gonna go ahead and slide everything out and do that. Alrighty guys, so what you're gonna wanna do is locate this drain plug on your car, and you're gonna unscrew this and let all the coolant drain out. And there's also a drain plug for the block on the other side that I'm gonna go find and show you guys when I find it. But I'm gonna go ahead and drain this coolant right here now. Alrighty, so while we wait for the coolant to drain, you wanna unscrew that cap so everything drains easier. And then I'm actually gonna get this ready because I can't drain the block until that side is done draining. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this ready, and then we'll do that. So in order to take this crankcase ventilation breather system off, you're gonna wanna take, there's two 25s, 1, 2 here, and then there's the hose that connects back up here. You're gonna wanna take all that off, and then this pop right out. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. So this piece was actually so brittle that when I was taking it out of its spot, it broke into 2 pieces, and this hose broke 1, 2, and there's a 3rd piece around here somewhere. So it's definitely a good idea to replace that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the new one in, put everything in, and show you guys the after product. Alrighty, so you're gonna wanna put those two T25s back in, and you don't have to like crazy tighten them because this just it just gets held in here. Those don't really do anything major. So you're gonna wanna connect that new hose back up. That hose runs around this. It doesn't connect to this, it goes around the top. And it connects to this air diverter thingy, which mine broke off actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull. Alrighty guys, so after I put that in, so what I'm gonna do is take off this hose and put that new one on. So that one, awesome, comes with this whole piece. And so my kit, this kit that you get, actually comes with new O-rings for all these little pieces that seat into the manifold up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace those. So I actually got this pick set, which works really well for just grabbing those little O-rings and pulling them off. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull those off, replace them. And so I saw someone that uses this stuff. It's So Glide. It's a lubricant, and it helps all these connections go on really smooth and keeps them lubricated. And I also use this WD-40 silicone lubricant. Make sure you get one that's works with rubber that won't degrade it over time. So I'm gonna use that and that combined, and it'll make this so much smoother. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace those O-rings and replace that upper hose, and then alrighty, so I got everything all nice and lubed and connected up. Put all the new O-rings on, put it back in. Now in order to put it back in, you just need the 4 Torx. There's one here, one there, and another one right here. Put those all back in, and the top half crankcase breather valve system will be done. Alrighty, so we finished with this crankcase breather valve for now. We're gonna move on to this idle air control valve grommet and the sucking jet pump and these hoses that go along with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off and drop it in the abyss back there. And so in order to take this off, what you wanna do is, let me use 2 hands for a second. As you look, don't fall, underneath these weird, very annoying clamps that BMW uses, and then that holds that bottom part in. And this top half is held in by this clip. You just want to grab it and kind of pop it out right here. I think that. Let's see if I can get it out. Oh, well, that probably shouldn't break off, but it's a good thing we're replacing it. So, alright, so this is a pain in the butt to take out. Oh, there we go, I got it. So you want to take that out, cut that clamp off the bottom, pull this off, and take your new one and install that on. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Alrighty, so once you slide that off, you can either reuse that clamp that it comes with, which I absolutely hate. They're these clamps. So basically what you have to do is you have to line them up perfectly with these and squeeze them until they line up, and then you have to close that little tab on it, and it's like a really hard process to do. So I actually have my own clamps that tighten normally like a screw clamp or whatever you want to call it. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is put some So Glide on here. Alrighty, so I had to go ahead and buy some hose clamps from Harbor Freight. There's like this assortment that they have, so I got those, put one on right here, tighten that up. Now we're going to move it to the top half. This already has a clamp on it. This doesn't need a clamp. So I'm gonna go ahead, put this new one on, clamp it down, and clamp that side down too. And I'll be back. So actually that's my mistake. I realized that it's probably best to put this on last after you get this whole intake part in. So I'm gonna do that last, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and move on to this idle air control valve grommet and go ahead and replace that since I got a new one. Alrighty, so here's the old idle air control valve grommet. It's really dirty, as you can see in there. And then here's my new one. It's really clean. And in order to take this out, so it sits in here. And remember the notch side? So it sits in there like that with the notch right there. And in order to get it out, you just stick a flat head right in here and pry it out, and it'll come out. And go ahead, take this one, put some Sil Glide on it, wherever it went. Oh, down here. Put some Sil Glide on it, put it back in there, and move on. Alrighty, went ahead, slid that in there. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and do this vacuum line. So I actually have a factory valve on my exhaust. So this goes to the factory valve, which was removed. And then this goes to your secondary air injection right here. This one already has one, so I don't need to replace that, but this one's already brittle and cracked, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace all these. Alrighty, so I'm gonna put ahead and put new vacuum line. These two connections. Now I'm gonna go through the car and check any other vacuum line connections and see if they need vacuum line. Alrighty, so now that the coolant is fully drained from my other radiator, or from the radiator, we're gonna go ahead and drain the block, see if I can get you in there. We're gonna see that bolt right there. That one, I'll go ahead and circle it for you guys. Right there, it's a 13. You're gonna break it loose, and it is going to fall a little bit on these pieces right here, but don't worry about that. I'm gonna go ahead and clean it up later. But you're gonna wanna go ahead and break that loose, undo it, and let all the coolant flow out of there. And then put that back, and when we're done, we'll fill it up with coolant. Alrighty guys, so I actually gonna go ahead and talk about something in the engine bay. So down under here, mine was actually broken, but you have this vacuum solenoid storage kind of thing. And so that connects up to the intake manifold over here. See, it's this one right here that's all cracked and broken. So it connects there for the factory exhaust flap that some cars have. So my car actually has it. So I'm gonna go ahead and reconnect that because this one was disconnected. So I'm actually gonna connect it back up to the intake manifold and run some line down the back, not connect it, because it sounds much better opened as of now. But I will be getting an upgraded exhaust that actually needs that. So that'll be good to have for when I do get that exhaust. But for now, we're gonna connect that up and we're gonna take these coolant pipes out. So in order to take these out, there's a 13 there and a 13 right here for this top one. And then there's a 10mm nut right here that you wanna take out, and then that'll just pop right out. And then this, for the lower one is connected right there to that hose. You wanna take that hose off, and then there's a 13 and another 13 connected to this piece, and this one just pops right out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take those both out and show you guys. Alrighty, so in order to take this upper one off, I was actually mistaken. That's a knock sensor under there, so don't take that out, just this top one. And then you gotta take that hose off. And so since I'm replacing both this and the hose, I'm just gonna go ahead and pry that off. And yeah, I would be careful because it is gonna drop a little bit of coolant, even though I've gone ahead and drained all the coolant out of it. So just be mindful of that. And many of you have noticed this. This is just my attempt at preventing the gas smell and all the gas from evaporating. So that's that. And I'm gonna go ahead and take these both out and continue. So there's also a factory zip tie from there to that knock sensor. Make sure you don't cut the knock sensor when cutting that zip tie off, and remember where the zip tie goes so you can put a new one on. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm actually just gonna get pliers and twist it off because I don't have special wire snips, so I'll be back. So I went ahead and took that first pipe out, and as you can see, it is all gunky and crusty in there, and it's actually broken. So that's what happens because these sit in the block for 20 plus years. They get corroded and the plastic breaks off inside. So go ahead and throw that in my box of garbage parts. You can see my fat mess right here. Clean up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead, and what you're gonna wanna do is in these ports, you're gonna wanna take a pick and clean everything out of there. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and probably remove this Vanos line so I can have better access in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that lower hose out, get both those hoses out. Alrighty, so I went ahead and took those both coolant pipes out and I started cleaning this. So what I have is I have this drill powered brush cleaning set with this extension thing, so I can get in there and brush all that grime out. I'm using these steel ones, and then I'm gonna move to brass, and then this one for just added cleaning. I'm gonna go ahead, clean those up. Once I'm done cleaning, I will grab the new ones and we will. Alrighty guys, so I went ahead and got those ports cleaned out, and I'm going to put on this hose for the CCV, or great case breather valve. So this hose connects to the dipstick, which is kind of a pain to get to when it's in there. So what you can do is you take, there's a bolt right here. It's a 13er, if I remember correctly, that bolts up right here. Under there, right here. So what you can do is, see my drippy drip, pull it out of there. You undo this, turn it to the right a little bit, and then you pull that out, and it'll come right up. And I have a new O-ring that'll go in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace that, put this back in. Alrighty guys, so went ahead and put the dipstick back in with all new O-rings and everything. Got that new braided line in right here, really nice. So everything in here is all prepped, but it's super late right now here where I am. So I'm gonna come back tomorrow. We're gonna do the coolant pipes, and then we're gonna do all these heater hoses and everything that goes to this. And that's all prepped. And we got our intake manifold mostly prepped. We got our CCV with its new hose that runs to the top. We got all new gaskets on this air diverter. Brand new this thing. Brand new. Everything. Brand new idle air control valve grommet. Brand new sucking jet pump. Lower hose. This piece. This little hose. All that. Now, all new vacuum line except for this one, which we're going to do last, because that connects to the exhaust valve thing. It's in the engine bay. Got this clip here. Make sure you don't break these clips because they're very brittle and very hard to replace. Like, I don't even know where half these clips go. So I'm just not gonna. I have my gas line. This is the hard fuel line. I have it sealed off with a bag so no debris or anything gets in here. And tomorrow we're gonna put that hose on, put this thing back in, new gasket and everything, and then we're gonna fill up with oil and coolant and get this thing back on the road. All right, but that's it for now, for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Alrighty guys, it's the next day. We're gonna go ahead and throw these coolant pipes in and attach everything. And then we're gonna fill it with coolant, pressure test it, and it should hopefully hold everything, no leaks. If there is any leaks, we'll find them, track them down, fix them. But let's go ahead and get these installed. So in order to install these, it's just the reverse of how you take them out. So this one is the lower one. This actually just slides right in. And there's a little notch, so you know which way it goes in. And then there's this bolt hole for the upper part, and then the lower part down here, there's this one down there. And so this line that goes to the alternator should actually be underneath this pipe. I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's on top or under or whatever, but I just like having it factory how it was. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this lower one installed, show you guys, and then get the upper one installed. And always make sure to use this. You don't have to use this one, but I use this one, Silk Glide. You can find it on Amazon. I'll try and throw a link in the description. But this is really nice. It's like this silicone lubricant stuff that helps it seal really well. And then I go ahead and take this WD-40 silicone lubricant. It helps do that. And it keeps those O-rings lubed up so that they don't go bad over time. But go ahead and install that, and I will be right back. Alrighty, so I went ahead, got this lower hose in, I'll bolt it up, and I checked down in here. You want to make sure that it's seated properly and the O-rings didn't roll, and you can see mine has all that lube around it, so it's seated properly. So I'm gonna go ahead, get a little bit of brake cleaner in there, get that grime out of there. Then I'm gonna go ahead and actually replace this hose back here, because I want to put on, when I put the new hose in, I want to put that new one just right on. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace that one. And so that one actually runs underneath down here all the way down to this second lower hose clamp down here, right here, this hose. So there's that upper one and the second one, and then this one returns. This one goes from the firewall to the return. So I'm gonna replace all three of these, but we're gonna start with that lower one. Alrighty guys, so we went ahead and got those lines in, and so I actually took this piece out to try and find, right here there's a connection that leads to this vacuum solenoid down here, right here, that vacuum canister that connects into the back of the intake manifold for my exhaust valve. And I'm trying to find that out, where that runs, because the previous owner, or whoever had it before, disconnected it. So I have no idea where that line runs, and I want to reconnect it for when I get the new exhaust on this thing, so it's a valve exhaust that I'm going to get, and it comes with you need the factory valve, so you can turn it on and off, or you have to get a separate vacuum source, which I don't want to pay the extra $100 to actually get that and have it installed nice. So I'm just going to run that line, but I need to find out where it is, and it's kind of really hard to find, but I found that. So there's the new lines. Alrighty guys, so I've put everything in. This upper coolant pipe held in by that nut. That 13 right there, lube that up, put it in, connected it back up. Everything's all connected back up. This one's connected back to that lower one. Everything's in, sealed up. Before we put the intake manifold back in and connect everything up and bolt it back down, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is fill this with water and then hook up my pressure tester and make sure that there's no leaks anywhere, and if there is, that way we can fix them right now before we get everything back in and have to take everything apart if there is a leak. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up with water, hook up the pressure. Alrighty guys, I went ahead, filled this up with coolant. Cool's down here, or not coolant. I filled it up with water actually first. And if you guys remember how to drain it, that should be easy to just drain it and then fill it up with real coolant. And any water should evaporate, or probably should, but if not, it should be fine. You just top it off if any coolant's missing. So in order to bleed this, which is a very confusing thing on some of these BMWs, and they are sometimes a really big pain in the butt, because If you have an air pocket, it'll cause it to overheat. So in order to do this, basically what you want to do is you're gonna open this. This is usually where my cap would sit, but it's hooked up to the pressurizer right now, and it's holding at a steady 15 psi. You guys can see that right there, 15 psi, which is where you want it to be, because these systems pressurize at about 15 to 20. So that's good. And basically, to fill this up and make sure you get every air bubble out, what you want to do is slowly fill this while cracking the bleeder screw. So open that a little bit, and you fill this until it's all the way full, and water starts coming out of here. You'll see it, and it'll start bubbling. And once it's bubbling, you keep filling it until it stops bubbling in just a steady stream. Then you close that up, or leave this open actually, and you go inside, start the car, which I can't do right now. So you go inside, start the car, let it warm up, get that coolant flowing and circulating, and then yeah, it'll be fine. And I wouldn't overfill it. I would actually underfill it a little bit, because there's always going to be some coolant left in the lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open everything, drain as much as I can out, and then I'm going to crack that the block screw off so we can get every little ounce of water. Then I'm going to leave everything open a little bit so the water can kind of evaporate. And I'm actually going to go ahead and put that intake manifold back on because it's holding pressure very well. So what I ended up doing for this, so I have that factory exhaust flap valve thing, as I've told you guys many times. I'm a very repetitive person, I'm sorry about that. But it connects into this, which runs up through the firewall right under here, this area right here. So I couldn't find the line that drops down and underneath, so I just ran a line from the back of that down and ran it along the factory line, and I will have my exhaust flap for when I get my new exhaust. But I'm actually going to go ahead and connect that back up to the intake manifold, and I'm going to go ahead and finish the intake manifold. I'm going to go ahead, drop something, I don't know what that was. I'm going to go ahead and clean it all up, make it all nice and shiny. And then we're going to put a new gasket on it, put some sealer on it so it seals really nice. And then the last couple things that we need to do. So this kit comes with a ring for your throttle body, which I accidentally opened. And then last thing we're going to do is that sucking jet pump. Comes with a new intake boot. Gonna transfer the wiring harness over, and it actually comes with this hose, which is the last hose for your PCV breather valve system. And this side, I believe, connects down here, and this more 90-degree angle side connects to this top valve cover area. But I'm gonna go ahead and double check, because actually, here's my big box of parts. What happened is, so yeah, mine broke off at the top where it connects to the valve cover. So that way I know this kind of 45-degree angle connects to the bottom half, and that 90 degrees at the top half. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect that up, put some new gaskets on here. Gaskets are pretty straightforward. You flip it over. I guess I could show you. Try not to break any of my new parts. Turn that to the side. Gasket. You peel this old one out. You just grab it here or somewhere. Peel it out. And put the new one in its place. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some cleaner and brake clean and stuff. Or, well, I use this because it's much less crazy than brake clean. It won't make you like crazy every time you use it. But basically, yeah, you get the gist of it. Alrighty guys, we're back. I got this kind of covered just so I can work on this cooling and all this stuff right here. So, got my intake manifold back in. And now, I'm draining the water so I can fill that up with real coolant and finally get this thing started. So I went ahead, cleaned the throttle body. This is the stuff I use. I use Finish Line chain degreaser. It works really well, and it's much less toxic than brake clean. So I went ahead and kind of cleaned this up a little bit. It's still kind of dirty just because yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that reinstalled, or put a new gasket on it and then get it reinstalled, because the new gasket comes with my kit. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a new gasket on there, get that installed in the car, hooked up. Alrighty guys, we're in the final stages of putting this back together. I've got the throttle body back in, the idle air control valve, semi-bolted up. Now, only thing we need to do is I'm gonna put that sucking jet pump back on, or that upper line. So this one right here, it's gonna go on, and then it should all be done. Let me check if I have any. Oh, and then we gotta put our new intake boot back on with all our hardware, and then we gotta throw all those other plastic covering pieces back on. So that piece for that, this angled piece right here that keeps this area nice and cleaned up. We're gonna throw everything back in, get some fresh coolant in here, and we can finally start this thing back up, and hopefully it'll run. Alrighty guys, so I kind of accidentally, when I was finishing up this video for the cooling system lines, I cut it off right about here where I hadn't put anything in. So I'm gonna go ahead explain how to redo that. So basically you put the throttle body in, which is under there. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 10 millimeter bolts, if I remember, and then a 10 that holds in this wiring harness down under here. You can see the line that runs to it. And then you got to put in your diesel valve, connect it up right there, and then you put your intake hoses back in. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. And then you put the air box in, which is just those 2 10s right there, and then you run that pipe, and this is just held in by clips. If you already took it out, I mean, I guess you know how to put it back in. So that's basically how I put it back in. As you can see, this car is out of the garage because I've been driving it. And I totally forgot to, or I didn't know that my video had cut off. I thought I recorded everything, but apparently not. So this is the end of that video. This car has been driving fine ever since, and I'm very grateful and thankful for that. It's running perfectly fine. It's been driven moderately hard, so I mean, no issues have arisen from that. So yeah, this cooling system is fully refreshed and should last another 200,000 miles like the last one. But that's how you redo your coolant lines in this car. Thank you for watching. I will be making some more videos on this car, because it's gonna get a ton of modifications that I think I've already talked about, but that's coming soon. So I'm gonna try, this channel is gonna start making me like a little bit of money, kind of, as I start getting more subscribers, more followers and everything, how that works. So yeah, if you guys watch these videos and you love working on cars, I think I'm gonna start like a daily tip series, because these cars have so many cool like little tips and tricks to get them to run better, or to test things and see how stuff works. But yeah, I think I'm gonna start a tip series for that. But that's all for this video, where we redid all the cooling lines. So I will see you guys in the next one. Consider following, subscribing to help me grow this channel, and so you guys can see more content like this, so you can work on your own car. But thanks for watching, everybody.